The dust storms of Kepler 442b never announced their arrival. They simply appeared, swallowing horizons whole, turning day into a crimson twilight that stung the eyes and choked the lungs. Emma huddled beneath the corrugated metal overhang, her forearms wrapped tightly around her thin frame, her compound eyes squinting against the grit that found every crack. In her makeshift shelter, she was alone. Again, the colony town had expelled her 3 days ago, another human settlement that tolerated her kind only when they needed cheap labor. At 14 cycles, she was too young to work the mines, but too old to be anyone's responsibility. Her parents had died in the terraform reactor accident 2 years prior, and since then, she'd been drifting from town to town, surviving on scraps and the occasional kindness of strangers who pitied the small Zetherian girl with translucent purple skin and too many limbs. The storm howled louder. Emma's stomach cramped with hunger. She hadn't eaten in 2 days. That's when she saw him. A figure emerged from the red chaos hunched against the wind, dragging something behind him. As he drew closer, Emma could make out the details. A human male, maybe 30 standard years, wearing a patched environmental suit that had seen better decades. His dark skin was weathered, his hair dusted with the omnipresent Kepler sand, and his brown eyes held the kind of exhaustion that came from carrying too much for too long. Elijah spotted her and stopped. For a moment, they simply stared at each other, the human traveler and the alien orphan. Emma had learned to recognize that look humans gave her species. The calculation, the assessment of threat, the decision of whether to help or hurry past. She'd seen it 1,000 times, but Elijah's expression was different. There was recognition there, the recognition of someone who understood what it meant to have nothing. "Storm's getting worse," he said, his voice rough. "This shelter won't hold." Emma didn't respond. Words had rarely helped her before. Elijah pulled his cargo closer, a portable habitat dome, battered but functional. With practiced efficiency, he began setting it up, his movements precise despite the wind trying to rip everything from his hands. Within minutes, the dome inflated, its transparent walls shimmering with energy shielding. "Get inside," he said. Emma hesitated. Humans had offered help before, but there was always a price. Always. Elijah seemed to understand her reluctance. He stepped back, giving her space. "I'm not going to hurt you, kid. Storm's going to, though, if you stay out here." Something in his voice, the gentleness beneath the gruffness, made Emma move. She scurried into the dome, and Elijah followed, sealing the entrance behind them. Inside, the howling wind became a distant murmur. Elijah shrugged off his pack and began unpacking, a small heating unit, water purification tablets, and 2 ration bars. He broke one in half and offered it to Emma. She stared at the food, then at him. "Why? Why what? Why help me? Humans don't. Usually." Elijah settled against the dome wall, studying her with those tired eyes. "I know what it's like to be hungry. To be alone." He gestured to the ration bar. "Eat." Emma took it with one trembling hand and devoured it in seconds. She hadn't realized how desperately hungry she'd been until the first bite touched her tongue. Elijah watched her without judgment, then handed her the rest of his portion. "No," Emma protested weakly. "That's yours. I'll manage." "You need it more." As Emma ate, Elijah activated the heating unit. Warmth spread through the small dome, and for the first time in days, Emma felt her muscles unclench. The storm raged outside, but here, in this tiny bubble of safety, she felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. "Where are you headed?" Emma asked quietly. "Nowhere in particular," Elijah replied. "I'm a drifter. Used to have a family, a home. Lost them in the war on Proxima Station." His voice was flat, distant. "Been moving ever since. Can't seem to stay in one place, and I'm sorry." Elijah shrugged. "Life out here is hard for everyone. Humans pretend we're the great colonizers, the unstoppable species that conquered the stars." He laughed bitterly. "Truth is, we're just as fragile as anyone else. Maybe more so because we're too proud to admit it." Emma studied him with her compound eyes, seeing him more clearly now. The scars on his hands, the worn patches on his suit repaired a dozen times over, the emptiness in his expression that mirrored her own. He wasn't some wealthy philanthropist offering charity. He was someone who had nothing but chose to share it anyway. "That's what makes humans different," Emma said softly. "Not strength. Kindness when it cost you everything." Elijah looked at her, surprised. Then for the first time he smiled. A small, sad smile, but genuine. Maybe, or maybe it just means we're all fools together. The storm lasted 3 days. During that time, Elijah shared everything he had: food, water, stories, and most importantly, companionship. He taught Emma how to repair environmental suits using salvaged materials, how to read star charts, how to survive in the unforgiving frontier of human expansion. He didn't ask for anything in return. He didn't expect gratitude or servitude. He simply gave because giving was all he had left. When the storm finally cleared, Emma expected Elijah to leave. That's what humans did. They helped if convenient, then moved on. But as Elijah packed up the dome, he turned to her. "I'm headed to New Ganymede. They've got a settlement there that's supposed to be more open-minded, about different species." He hesitated. "You could come with me, if you want." Emma's 4 hearts seemed to stop simultaneously. "You want me to come?" "I don't have much to offer," Elijah admitted. "But whatever I have, you're welcome to share it. Nobody should be alone out here." Emma felt something wet on her face. Tears, the universal language of emotion that transcended species. She'd thought humans were conquerors, colonizers, sometimes cruel, but Elijah had taught her a different truth. That humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or technology or stubborn persistence. It was in their capacity to give everything when they had nothing. To share their last meal with a stranger, to choose compassion over convenience. "Yes," Emma whispered. "I'll come with you." Elijah nodded and extended his hand, a human gesture of partnership. Emma placed one of her 4 hands in his, and together, they walked into the clearing Kepler dawn. Behind them, the storm had left the landscape transformed. Ahead, the future remained uncertain. But for the first time in years, Emma wasn't facing it alone. And for Elijah, carrying his grief a little less heavily, that made all the difference. They were 2 broken souls in an unforgiving universe. But together, they were something more. They were proof that hope could survive anywhere, as long as someone was willing to share it.